All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to 8 News. Now, I'm Monica Jackson, and it is time for Mondays with Monica. And today we're talking about vaping. I know you guys have been seeing the commercials. You've seen all the stories about it. I wonder if you know how very dangerous this really is. And it touched a personal spot with me because I had a grandmother who passed away as a result of lung cancer. And as the vaccine rolls out, kids may be going back to school. Some might be doing that hybrid thing. So I wanted to bring it back around because it's very important. Dr. Jennifer Pearson is joining us this morning. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Pearson. Tell us about the Nevada Tobacco Prevention Coalition and how you guys are tackling all of this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So the Nevada Tobacco Prevention Coalition, or NTPC, it's a collaborative effort between organizations and individuals that work in public health, in government, in medicine, and education. And our goal is to ultimately eliminate the death and disease due to tobacco use and secondhand smoke exposure in Nevada. People think that this is a solved problem, but we still have more than 400,000 people a year in the United States dying from tobacco use. It's primarily cigarette smoking, but we're starting to see some concerning things happening with vaping and e-cigarette use among teens. In 2019, high school students in Nevada, 22.5% of them reported vaping in the last month. And that is very concerning, even though vaping is less harmful than smoking cigarettes. And many adult smokers have found e-cigarettes helpful in quitting smoking. Saying something that's less harmful than smoking isn't saying a lot because it is by far the most harmful thing you can do for your body.
Yeah, and here's what makes me mad, Dr. Pearson. Are there any laws in place, any legislation going through the pipeline right now to get on top of these companies that are peddling this stuff to kids? Because it seems like somebody needs to be held accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the main kind of action in that area is that people are starting to sue companies. So, you know, companies often say, well, that's not what we meant to do, right? And I can't speak to what they meant to do because I can't read their minds. But the reality is that these companies designed, manufactured, and marketed a harmful, addictive product that nearly a quarter of Nevada's high school students have used recently. And it is their responsibility to make sure that adolescents don't use their products. And so we're starting to see people sue companies like Juul. It's a big one that people hear about. There's a gigantic lawsuit of 786 people or something like that happening right now, just starting to get going. And I think that's we're gonna see some movement on that.
Let's talk about the top 3 things, the effects of this vaping, because as I was reading your information, it was just disgusting to me what happens to a kid as they're starting this horrible habit. Give me the first one.
Well, sure. So, you know, vaping nicotine among youth does open up a bunch of concerns. So, vaping exposure during adolescence can affect their brains. It can affect how their brains are able to kind of process information. It can control how they can, in the future, make decisions, executive function, et cetera. We're not 100% sure on the science on that quite yet, but even it's biologically plausible, and therefore I think it's a very good reason to avoid nicotine use in adolescence.
Here's the one that really stuck with me, Dr. Pearson. It just grossed me out. Chemical burns in the lungs of vapors from nicotine and THC resemble the damage that was seen in the lungs of World War I soldiers who inhaled mustard gas. Are you kidding me? Well,
so that specific injury has been linked to vaping THC fluid. So that's not linked to vaping nicotine fluid.
But just the
that's
idea
from vaping,
of vaping
black market
period.
THC fluid that was cut with vitamin E acetate. Still, however, vaping nicotine does affect youth's lungs. It causes breathing problems. In my own research, I hear a lot about wheezing and a hard time breathing and coughing. And the youth that I talk to really cite that they're having a hard time performing in things like sports. They're having a hard time singing. And they are feeling like it wasn't worth it for them to start it in the first place. A lot of them are dependent on nicotine now. They don't feel good without vaping. So that's why we have these 2 different programs. We have Behind the Haze, which is a commercial and website that specifically speaks to teens. And then Let's Talk Vaping, which is a website that is trying to give tools to parents to talk to their kids about vaping.
Absolutely. Let's talk vaping.com. Parents, check it out. Please find out the details about this because, again, as I was reading through, it was just disgusting to me how these kids are taking up this horrible habit. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just as bad as smoking. I've seen the effects of it, and it is not good. Dr. Pearson, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, and don't forget, join me on the MOJ Show Facebook Live tonight at 7 p.m. where we'll have the recap of the interview. Parents, we got to get on it because our kids are picking up some bad habits.